Hi, I'm Esther and I'm the photographer for MMAfighting.com. I wanted to share with you my favorite images from 2011. Mauricio Shogun Hua works out for fans and media in San Jose. This was one of the nicer settings we have had for a media workout. The skylights were beautiful, the natural wood ceiling and the exposed brick really gave every image a lovely, warm glow. This was UFC's first event in San Jose, and it felt surreal since I'd been shooting events in San Jose for Strikeforce for the last 3 years. This is Chael Sonnen at the media workouts at UFC 136 in Houston. I mounted a flash to the top of the cage in the Expo Center because it was really dark and because I like to have my own accent on things. I think I shot this image at ISO 4000. Chael had just finished working out, and I called him over to my side of the cage where I was crouching on the apron. I asked him to pose for me, and he stood there, looking down on me, my flash firing to his left. With the truss lights shining through his hair and gloves, I thought, this is going to be neat. And it was. I love shooting Chael Sonnen. He makes lots of great faces, he is always expressing, knowing we are always his audience. Do fighters practice their victory faces? This was at the media workout for UFC on Fox show at the UFC gym in Rosemead. After Junior Dos Santos did an extended workout for the fans, he hopped on top of the cage and posed for them, calling his shot. The ethereal quality of this image, the blown out sodium vapor lights, my remote flash flaring in my lens, made me feel clairvoyant. I saw this and thought, change is coming. I have shot many Nick Diaz fights, starting with my days at Elite XC. I have to admit, it was a moment of personal pride to see him make his UFC debut, and here, enjoying the media attention after the fallout of missing the press conferences early on. Since I began my career on the promoter's side, I will probably always feel a connection to the fighters whose climb mirrored my own progression. While the fight might have been lackluster for many, the immense crowd at the sold-out Rogers Center was still experiencing the largest UFC event ever held. I think this image better sums up the gigantic debut in Toronto more than anything from the fights. GSP walking towards the cage, dwarfed by 55,000 fans. This is one of 3 images from the same event, but storylines converge at the end of each year. Last New Year's, I traveled to Tokyo to shoot Dynamite for another publication, and Alistair Overeem fought on that card as well. Actually, this is my 5th time watching Overeem compete live. The first was watching him knock out Badr Hari in Saitama at K1 Dynamite 2008. He has always exuded intimidation in this way. Here, he stands in the cage, staring Brock Lesnar down during his entire walk to the octagon, as Lesnar is checked by the ref, as Lesnar's teammates wish him luck. As Lesnar ascends the stairs into the cage, there is Overeem, staring him down. I don't know if Lesnar saw Overeem looking into his soul, but I'm sure he felt it. Despite my penchant for finding a softness in this violent world, I never forget this is a brutal sport, as all sports are. Hell, life is brutal. Nathan Diaz was in top form as he drew Donald Cowboy Cerrone into his game and picked him apart combination after combination. Fights like this remind us that this is real. There's very real pain that comes with this way we entertain ourselves. This is the amazing fight no one saw on TV. An endless flurry of action, feverish speeds, and so much hair everywhere. It thrilled the crowd at the Honda Center. The photographers around me grunted and squealed with both delight and frustration at the frenetic pace. What a fight. I can't close out the year without an image from this fight. But it wouldn't be fair to only show Shogun or Hendo on top. It was a back-and-forth war, and in the end, both their white shorts were pink with blood. Their blood was sprinkled all over the apron from the photographers, and the smell. This fight exemplifies what I always hear from Jordan Breen. Real men fight 5 rounds. They're very close to me, and I panicked a little and forgot to pull focus manually. This happens a lot during Diaz brothers fights. There's just too much action. When Diaz brothers fight, I shoot more photos per round than any other fighter by far. Despite the soft focus and motion blur, I still caught how Nathan Diaz punched distorted Takanori Gomi's face. Gomi was backing up, thinking he might be out of Nate's range, but Nate lunged forward, catching him flush on the side of the face. Travis Brown might have been the tallest person that Stefan Struve has ever fought, but even then, the young Struve towered over him. I don't know that I'll ever get to take another photo like this. I think I have maybe 10 photos of him descending to the canvas. It took so long for the unconscious giant to fall. It felt like time had slowed down so that we could all have time to gasp as he toppled. This is the second photo in the same year I have of Tito Ortiz doubled over from knees to the body. The first was against Rashad Evans, and this one is after being defeated by Antonio Rogerio Nogueira. I think the pain of losing 2 in a row hurt so much more than the knees to the body. Seeing Tito in the post-press conference after trying hard to be stoic, I knew that when he kneeled there, wincing, he was facing pain from his heart and his muscles. There will be no grand comeback. Hominix hematoma. We watched that grow as the rounds passed against Jose Aldo. And here he is, looking at himself on the giant screens all over the Rogers Center. I wonder what he thought, studying himself while 55,000 people stared at him with both shock and admiration. What a year for Daniel Cormier, a budding career ascending into the finals of the Heavyweight Grand Prix as Alistair Overeem was dropped to injury. This punch was so loud. I will never forget the sound it made. It was like a baseball bat crushing into the side of a bull, the leather making a deep, thudding sound as the solid wood hits through muscle to bone. I have no idea why someone would be hitting a bull with a baseball bat, but that is the best way I can describe the sound. It was also here that Cormier broke his hand. Perhaps that is the sound I heard, his hand breaking on a jaw. Exhausted, but not beaten, Roy Nelson smiles as the third round begins. Big Country puts away the veteran Crow Cop 90 seconds after this photo was taken. I think this is a knowing smile. He's ready to finish this fight. Of course, after an entire year of fights, I came home with a lot of punch faces. But this is what propelled Dos Santos into the eventual winning of that heavyweight title. I love that Carmen's shorts are sharp, his body sharp, but his face is slightly motion blurred from impact and already swollen from Dos Santos' unending barrage. It's grotesque, but still beautiful. Months before this, everyone was writing Wanderlei Silva off, asking him to retire. Even I felt this way, especially seeing his face, still and stunned, just a few feet from me after being knocked out by Lieben. Wanderlei paid no mind. I love the depth of this image, with Wanderlei effectively running out of my focal range, leaving Kung Lee on the ground, bleeding. He runs to climb the cage above me, sharing his happiness with the crowd. This marked the end of an important trilogy in MMA history. Frankie's only loss was to Gray Maynard, and the second fight ended in a draw. As this fight began, it looked just like that second bout, Edgar in trouble early, and just like that second fight, Edgar sprang back to life. So many things are learned, drilled, each camp. So many elements factor into fights, one must train for them all. But you can't train heart or chin. These are things you just have. And Frankie Edgar has the heart of a champion, and he keeps proving over and over he can face adversity and turn around stronger. And just as he predicted earlier in the week by celebrating for the crowd at the gym, Dos Santos rejoiced, bathing in the spotlight of his knockout win to become the heavyweight champion. Millions of eyes on him at this moment, all over the world. How many of us will ever have this, our dreams coming true, and the world bearing witness? In stark contrast, John Jones successfully defends his belt for a second time and simply walks off. Stunned by the weight of the moment, the adrenaline rush, pain and hard work all coming to a close. I really wanted to make sure I had both Jones and Machida in this photo, and I didn't zoom into Machida even after this was shot. I needed to be this far away. It was a brutal, honest moment in our sport, one that showed the primacy of this young champion over every fighter that has come his way since he started his UFC career. The 5-round battle comes to a decision for the champion. A back-and-forth war, coming down to the discretion of 3 people outside the cage. I sympathize with Faber's disappointment, even knowing Dominic inched out the win. I missed the photo op of Barnett and Cormier facing off as finalists in the Heavyweight Grand Prix because I was scrambling to get my work on the server. So as they readied to leave, I ran up to Josh and Daniel and asked them to pose again for me. They obliged. 2 fighters with various marks from their battles, grinning with both malice and humor. I proceeded to make fun of Daniel and his claw hand after I snapped this photo. I can't wait for this fight to happen. Ufc Rio was full of amazing moments, but I think this captures the entire week. Rio was lively and full of joy, the crowd was enthusiastic, singing, chanting, loving their heroes. Friends and training partners Anderson Silva and Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira elated on stage after the post-fight press conference, celebrating winning their fights and winning at home. There was so much happiness for Nogueira, succeeding over a younger, stronger fighter. Big Nog's win was the highlight of the night, an achievement for both him and Brazil. This was taken moments after Dana White announced that Nick Diaz will get the title fight against GSP. He's saying, "This is why I gotta be the bad guy." One of the most awkward and honest press conferences I have ever attended. He's upset despite having won, beating BJ Penn like no one has ever done, and slated to challenge for the welterweight title. Nick Diaz brings the fight. He brings everything to the table. Most of us in the media don't see how perceptive Nick Diaz is about himself as a fighter. We think he misspeaks, rambles, but in the end, he's right. Nick Diaz talked his way into a title shot, that chance solidified by his rare skill and talent. When a fight ends, I follow both fighters as they exit the cage. This time, I tracked Brock as he angrily marched away in front of the press tables, storming. But his face changed as he rounded the octagon. His wife was waiting for him, arms open, and they stopped to kiss right in front of me. For all the showmanship and the general rage of Brock Lesnar, for a moment, he was vulnerable and human. There's so many more photos I wanted to share, but this video would be hours long. So thanks for watching. And as award-winning journalist Ariel Helwani would say, keep checking out MMAfighting.com for features, interviews, and of course, photos of the biggest fights. Happy New Year!